your source for everything paranormal. ParaX. You are listening to ParaX.
Welcome to HeSaid, SheSaid, the Cryptid show. I'm Tommy Cooper with my lovely co-host Stephanie Langer. How are you tonight, Steph?
I'm great. How are you? It's beautiful weather here. How about there?
It is beautiful. Let's hope that spring is finally here. It was a great day to be in the woods today.
It wasn't it? It was fabulous. It was fabulous. So I was in northern Minnesota, way up by the border, and there's a lot of snow up there still. I had snow up to my tush. Can I just say?
You had a busy weekend.
I am exhausted. Can I just say I am so tired right now. I could just But yeah, so we went trekking up there yesterday morning. We had this big Squatch chat that was very well attended. We barely got out of the car and there were people on us in the parking lot, and it was just it was just filled. The venue was filled with people. We had other researchers that came and saw us, and then we raced up to Karin's place and did a Facebook, an online Facebook kind of thing, and oh my gosh, and then we went squatching today. So yeah, I'm a little tired. How about you? What did you do all weekend?
I don't think my weekend was near as ambitious as yours was. Just the normal thing. Did you guys find anything that really blew your mind today, like tracks, structures, anything, or just kind of take the whole area?
Well, you know what? We didn't. We were in a different area, one that we hadn't been in, and we followed a new logging road. Actually, they were back there logging about 100 acres, I guess. So it was somewhere that none of us had ever been. We did find some what we think are stick structures, but we couldn't really get back there because I'm telling you, that snow was super deep. Like I said, it was up to my tush. I had to be helped out. But we'll go back there. You know, we have plans on going back there like maybe in a month or so. We'll all be up there, and then we'll go take a look at them because hopefully the snow will be gone then, and then we can get back in there and have a look. But we have a lot of different areas up there that we're going to go to. So, yeah, looking forward to that, you know.
And any tick hatches yet up in the Great White North?
You know what? We didn't see any ticks, but there have been deer ticks spotted here in Minnesota already. They say, you know what they say is anytime the weather gets over 40 degrees, the ticks come out. So yeah. I don't know if that's true or not, but we didn't see any. But I have heard of them already here in Minnesota. There's been reports of deer ticks, you know, the dangerous kind. So how about out there?
Yes, actually, they've done very well this winter. They've survived quite well. So I've had my chickens out free ranging for the last 3 days and getting proactive with this. And yeah, I got to protect my cat. I got to make sure he doesn't get ticks on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Stephanie, tonight's guest is a friend of mine. I had the pleasure of hanging out with this guy a few times, and a wonderful guest, very knowledgeable. Jason and I call him the busiest man in Bigfoot. He has maps for mountain lions, maps for Sasquatch. He's quite a guy with his documentation in the state of Pennsylvania. It's my pleasure to introduce you and everyone to Mr. George Workman. How are you doing, George?
I'm doing good. Hi, Tom. And hi, Stephanie.
Hi, welcome to the show. Good to have you on.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Good to talk to you guys today.
Yeah.
George, when you got into this, did you have any idea how much of your life this was going to consume with all your maps and documentation that you have on everything?
No, I don't think I did. I was, and I have to give you credit, because I was doing my thing with the maps and just going out, not really much public. And then I started a group. I was like, I need to do something productive, so I started a group on Facebook, the Bigfoot Dogman Info Library. And then I was doing that for a while, and then I started talking to you, if you recall. You're messaging me, and we were going back and forth, and you convinced me to go on the show, and your show, Cryptovania, and I really didn't want to, but you and you talked me into it.
Usually that's what everybody says when they're leaving.
but I had a really good time, and so then I started doing more video stuff and more shows and things. So I have to give you credit for helping pull me out of my shell a little bit, and it's been fun, so
it's great. I'm glad I could do the world a service and help bring George Workman to the surface.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, George, you get out in the field, correct? Have you had any luck lately?
Yeah, actually, I went yesterday. Just to tell you about some of the things that I've been doing this year. Kind of started researching mountain lions in Pennsylvania, and also on the eastern side of the Mississippi, because most of the states don't really acknowledge that there's native breeding populations of mountain lions. So I've been a little bit reinvigorated. I got a new map of sighting reports in Pennsylvania. I think we have over 200 now. So that's exciting. And so we got some different trail cameras this year, and it's just so turns out that some of the mountain lion reports are in the same place that our Bigfoot reports are. So we went out yesterday, and me and my buddy John Redchun, a lot of you guys might have heard of him. He's been going out there for years, and he's got these special, he uses all kinds of different cameras, but he has these plot watcher trail cams, and they just work in the daytime. They don't work at night. They don't have infrared, and they're like a surveillance time-lapse video, where they just take pictures every 5 seconds. So they're kind of neat, and he's gotten quite a few different heads and figures, popping up on these, kind of a higher success rate than a lot of other trail cameras that use infrared. So we went out yesterday and set up the cameras, and I was just today making a short video. We found footprints and structures and bones and all kinds of stuff. So
Wow.
It's exciting. Yeah.
Well, they say that, like Sasquatch will see the infrared lights and he won't go near those cameras. So it makes sense that maybe during the day you get more luck.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Yeah.
George, if a person wants to look at your maps, what's the best way for a person to access these maps?
There's a couple ways. Everybody goes about it differently, whether it's on a computer or they're on Facebook. So if you just went to Google and typed PA Bigfoot encounters map, it'll come up on the first page. That's one way. Or you could find it through if you're on Facebook, you could join our group, Bigfoot Dogman Info Library, and then they're all linked there, and you could find me. But the mountain lion map's fairly new, so if you Googled it, you probably wouldn't find it. So you could find it on Facebook through me.
Fantastic. Now, I have to give a testimonial here, Stephanie.
Yeah.
When I first saw George's maps, I decided I'd get close to Cryptovania headquarters, and lo and behold, there was a game land near me, very near me, that had 2 sightings plotted on it. And Nick and I actually went there, and we got some action. There was something big in a tree that we kicked out. It was a black bear, a black panther, or a black Sasquatch. We're not sure which it was, but it was after dark, and we just caught a little bit of it with a light. But the impetus for us being in this place was indeed Mr. George Workman's map that had the 2 sightings posted on it, and it was just by our backyard. Wow. So it was really neat.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
And I could actually followed up with one of those reports, Tommy. And I think you'd be interested to hear it. If you want, I could tell you what happened.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So this was about 10 years ago, because it was in the old Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society database. But they had all the contact numbers, and I have all the reports. So I just found the guy's number, found his name, found him on Facebook, and then I started talking to him, and then we had a phone call. And yeah, the one in the game lands, the guy was hunting, and I think he was hunting for squirrels maybe, and he had a scope on his rifle, and this is right near your house, Yeah. And he saw something moving in his scope. I mean, it was really close. It was behind a tree, and within 20, 30 yards. That's how close it was. And it was a little one. It was a little Sasquatch, all black.
Oh.
And it came around the tree and looked at him, and he saw it for a good 20, 30 seconds, and he was just like, what's going on? And then another one popped out. There was two of them. So he heard like rustling, but he got a really good look at it, and just kind of a glimpse of the other one, but it was enough to kind of throw him way off. And we talked about meeting up last year with him. We never actually ended up doing it, but it was a really interesting report, and I enjoyed talking to him, because when you see one so close and a guy in a scope and you see its face, like, wow.
Oh yeah. And the other interesting report that I can think of is you and I actually, there was a guy who had told me a sighting, and then I had mentioned it to you, and I encouraged him to contact you, and he did, and it was the one by the tunnels with it running through the woods next to the car and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
that was really a good one too, because I've talked to that guy several times at my garage, and it took so many times of talking to him before he told me the story. And then when you guys ended up hooking up, I was like, that is so awesome. There's not a better guy in the world that he could hook up with to tell his story to than you. So I'm glad you guys got together.
Yeah, and that was kind of a coincidence, because I met him just randomly through. Remember when the article came out in the news last year, Pennsylvania #3 best state for Bigfoot? That's just how I found him. I didn't even know him, and then you and I confirmed separately, and yeah, you knew him, and and that story is just amazing. Him and his buddies were hanging out in front of the tunnel. The guy was just back from the war, and they were hanging out, having a beer, just wanted to enjoy just be out in the woods. And they started hearing trees snapping, and next thing you know, rocks are being thrown. And by the time the guy was done, he hadn't even finished his first cigarette, from the just to give you a time, it was less than a few minutes. They started leaving because the rocks were coming in. They were huge, and then they started driving away from the mouth of the tunnel, and it ran out of the woods right up next to the car, and was chasing the car, and it looked right at him through the window. It was 3 feet away in the daytime, and he said it looked like a Saint Bernard colored, like all these weird patchy colors, but he looked right at its face, man. And
oh, that's awesome.
And you've got to keep into consideration too, this guy had just come home from Iraq, so it's not like he would have been a timid fellow.
Yeah,
exactly. And you know what else? I was just listening to Sasquatch Chronicles show. I'm sure everybody loves, and one of his recent guests had another encounter, 10 years difference in the same tunnel. That they decided to go in the tunnel in their car or some kind of ATV. I think it was the car, and there was one just in the middle of the tunnel, because the tunnel's like a mile or two long, and it's really dark in there, and this was before they rehabbed it for the bike trail. It was a mess in there, and they saw it in their headlights. So there you go. There's two reports right at that same place.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. So Karen is asking in the chat room, she's asking, where did the data for your maps come from? Are those from sightings that you've heard about, or how does that work?
That's a good question. They came from the initial base reports came from the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society, which has been tracking reports, since the 70s and 80s. And, a whole different group of people like Paul Johnson and Eric Altman and Stan Gordon and lots of other people. So they had about 400 reports in their database, and that was one of my ideas to try to make the group better. I said, hey, let's make a map. So I made a map, and I used all their reports as the baseline. But then since then, since a few years ago, I started just putting everything on there. So anything I find on Facebook or, references like Tom and other guys, or Pennsylvania Bigfoot Project, there's a lot of reports there. And I even ran into a guy, Dr. Paul Johnson, who wrote a book about Pennsylvania, and he wrote his book in the same way that I mapped the report. So it's like I wrote his book. It's perfect, where it says where it is and what happened, and then another book that I used was Timothy Renner's Bigfoot in Pennsylvania, which is all the old reports from the early 1900s and 1800s. So now you have a baseline of 100 and 150 years difference in the reports. Some of them are in the same exact place as the ones today. So I think it's really telling, if you study where and when,
George, are you willing to use the word cover up, George? Do you think there's a concerted cover up by the powers that be, or do you just think this is an undiscovered area?
Oh, I mean, I think if I'm smart enough to figure all this stuff out, I'm sure someone that's getting paid knows way more than I do, right? And hundreds of years, so I don't think it's just an accident. And you run into the same thing with the mountain lions, and it's like Bigfoot light, because there's all these reports, and it's something that is real, but everybody sees it, but they don't exist here, so. What's going on?
Well, do you think people are scared? Mountain lions, though, don't you think that maybe the government hushes that up because they don't want mass hysteria? Oh my God, there's mountain lions. You know what I mean? The public gets pretty worked up about that stuff. I think even Bigfoot sightings are, people get scared.
They do.
Yeah.
And Stephanie, doesn't it vary? Well, I'll ask you more specifically, but what I've seen, it varies from state to state. If you're in Minnesota and you see one, well, it's a lot. Well, yeah, we've seen 10 of them. There's 10 confirmed.
Yeah.
But if you're in Pennsylvania, it's totally no. They're not there. So. Yeah,
it's too bad, really. I don't know. Yeah, we have a lot of mountain lion here in Minnesota and in Wisconsin, and it's kind of wild up here, especially in the Northland. But we've heard of them pretty close to the cities as well. It seems to me that we heard about one that was just right outside because I live in the Twin Cities, just north. And so there's Minneapolis and St. Paul, and there's a huge population here. And, we've heard of, bears come wandering into town. And I think there was even a mountain lion not too far away, not too long ago. But yeah, so we have, all kinds of stuff up here. But it's too bad that they don't admit it out there in Pennsylvania. And, because they said they eradicated them, right? They said that they were just kind of extinct from out there. But people are seeing them all over. We just had Alexander Petrikov on, too, who just did his new documentary is Lions of the East, I believe. So, I mean, yeah, it's cool. It's cool stuff. I'm glad that they're coming back, actually.
Yeah, I am too, and a lot of people are, and one of the ways that I think people enjoy my groups on Facebook is I do give my opinions, but I don't harp on people that disagree with me. So I try to put both perspectives. Let the people fight it out.
Yeah,
as long as they don't call each other names, right?
Yes.
And I've got some interesting Minnesota stories if you wanted me to share some of those.
Yeah, please do. I'd be interested in hearing them.
Yeah, so one of my guys that I'm friends with, his name's Randy. He's up in northern Minnesota, and he's I think Tom Cooper, you may have recall this guy's group, Randy's Bigfoot Research. He's got the most tree structures that I've ever seen in one place. And he had a sighting. He got a really good footprint that I think Meldrum was interested in. And then his neighbors have had sightings just recently, and there's ones going back 50 years. And there's a mountain lion on video right near where he lives. He's found their tracks in the snow. So I think we're going up there this year. He invited me to do. He started a conference that he's having in Wisconsin, Seven Winds Casino. That's up in April. But yeah, he's right up there, and the tree structures are just amazing. There's so many. He sent me probably 150 pictures. There were so many. I started a little map just for his own tree structures.
Well, what's interesting about the tree structures is, our group has a area that we call our research area, which is pretty close to the cities as well, right? So it's like an hour from here. And the reason that, we keep going back is, my goodness, when we first discovered this area, one of our girls had said, oh, there was, reports of Bigfoot here. You guys need to check it out. So we went out there and we found this whole, what we called a quadrant. So there was like between 16 and 20 stick structures in this quadrant, and it was kind of like they were in a circle. It was the most amazing thing, and some of them were super big, some of them were smaller, and what's interesting about it is one of our girls said, hey, let's build our own structure. So we did, and then it's like it's never been the same. It's like they've let them go, right? So they've just been kind of disappearing one after the other. So we'll never do that again. I think we learned our lesson. But they went across the marshland. So it's in this area where there's a lot of marshlands. It's hard to get over there. But we heard them over there one time when we were out there on an investigation. And so we've been going across the marshland now since. And we found like amazing stick structures and like lots of energy underneath one of them, like some kind of portal. What do you think about the whole portals and interdimensional aspects of Bigfoot?
Oh, I mean, I never rule it out. People, it's hard to get any evidence of that. There's a few pictures, there's a few invisible things that people have seen. And people, there's always people disappearing and appearing, regular people. And a lot of people think some of the 411 stuff is portals, people just appearing and disappearing. And, Bigfoot, Sasquatch lives in the woods, and it seems like the woods are a very energetic and special place. And if they've been here for a long time, maybe they're a lot more in tune with it than we are, with all our devices and electronics and everything else. So, I mean, you never know. I'm definitely not against it.
Yeah. George, I know you're a facts and figures and numbers kind of guy, but allow me to ask you, what would be maybe the craziest thing you've experienced, the most woo type thing, or maybe your favorite telling that one of your eyewitnesses has given you of a woo type experience?
I think I guess I'll start with me. That it's only I've had that really bad feeling come over me a few times. One was I was investigating an area in a cemetery in north suburbs of Pittsburgh, and I saw a coyote. And the lady had said that she was going in a funeral procession at 11 a.m. daytime, and saw what her impression was a 7-foot, hairy Bigfoot, kind of cruising through and just disappeared. And there was no, unless it jumped over, a whole section of Japanese knotweed, which I guess is possible. It didn't go through the knotweed. There was no, there's no way I could have walked through that based on, I was there, a week later. So, but then I was in the back of the cemetery. I saw a coyote daytime, which is pretty rare. One of the few that I've ever seen. And then I started going into the high brush. I was by myself. I was in the back of the cemetery, and I started hearing stuff up in the weeds there, moving around. And I thought, it's starting to get over my head, the height. And I got that really bad feeling, and I thought, maybe I'll call it for today. So that was one. And then there was one a couple of years ago, we went to Fulton County, PA, and they had a town hall. My buddy Tom Ferentz organized a town hall, and surprisingly, in a little county in South Pennsylvania, right on the border of Maryland, in a small church house with a cemetery right next door, 150 people just showed up, and it was so crowded people couldn't even sit down. And people shared their stories, and we investigated. There was Dogman reports there too that people didn't really want to talk about, but we camped out for the night right near the church and the cemetery. I actually made camp. They said I could stay there in somebody's yard, which was in the middle of a hollow, like in a driveway deep in the woods. And me and Red Chun sat there at a fire till 3 a.m. And then he left and went back to the church, and I was there by myself. And oh man, I got the worst feeling being in that hollow. I heard a few things like making noise and stuff a little earlier, and I tried to stay there as long as I could. I put Coast to Coast on, just try to break up the mood, and I sat there by the fire by myself. But I just had the worst feeling. I ended up leaving there. I never went to sleep there. I didn't fall asleep. I packed up my stuff at about 5 a.m. I just left. Mm-hmm. And then the most recent one was in Mishaw State Forest last year. I was there with Edward Munge and Rick Mallory and other guys, and we were doing an investigation of Rick's tree structures and his encounter where he had rocks thrown at him and stuff. And while we were there, man, my head started feeling really weird. Like, I have Lyme disease, so I'm real sensitive to changes in my anything. My neck and my jaw started to hurt, and my head just felt dizzy. And then Edward's wife, Joy, she felt a little funny too, and we were both kind of exchanging things back and forth. I mean, those are the three times where I just felt bad, or just unexplainable for no reason. It was in the middle of the day, most of these, except for that one night. But those are my personal. Yeah.
Speaking of the Lyme's disease, George, that's a topic that's near and dear to everybody's heart that is out in the woods a lot, because it's such a real possibility for everyone. Do you mind sharing anything you do to keep yours in check, or how you deal with it, or does it debilitate you, or does it not slow you down, or somewhere in between, to the average person that maybe doesn't know a lot about Lyme's disease? Anything you'd care to share about it?
Yeah, sure. I've probably been bit about 10 times. So I've gone through this cycle every year in different waves, so when I first got it, I took the antibiotics. Of course, the best thing is to get it right away. Go get antibiotics right away, and that works for 90% of people. But the other percentage, it doesn't. If you get multiple bites, then those antibiotics, they don't always work anymore. So then you have to, start changing your diet and what you eat. If certain things trigger your symptoms, you should probably change what you're eating. And
what sort of foods have you eliminated, and what have you added?
I have the biggest sweet tooth of anybody, and but I can't eat that stuff that much anymore. I can really tell. Like if I went and got a cheeseburger from McDonald's, I don't know what's in that stuff, but if I ate it, I could feel my neck hurt, like Lyme hurt. I'll get pains and I'll get a headache. So, sugars and just fast food, or even bread and pasta and things like that, are things that I can't really eat that much anymore. As far as preventatives, everybody's got their own spray and methods, and wear this color clothes so you can see them. Whatever it is, whatever you find that works. I have these natural sprays that I spray on my clothes and things, and they work pretty good, but they still get on there, and nothing's 100%. So you just have to check. And then, a lot of times the way that I would get bit is we have a bunch of animals and cats and dogs, and, the cat comes in, and, next thing I know, I have ticks on my arm, and, I don't always see them, but I've gotten bit a couple times that way, just from the cats. So
Wow.
yeah, it's just a big journey. You just got to figure out keep being persistent. If you
Yeah.
stick with one thing, if you're on antibiotics for 3 months and it doesn't work, then I would try something else. And the sad thing is, a lot of times your insurance doesn't even cover what you might need to switch to. So you might have to pay for it yourself, and a lot of people don't want to do that. But hey, I mean,
Well,
yeah.
That's
Well,
a conspiracy in and of itself, right? I mean, that's ridiculous, but
Well,
Right.
obviously, it's not easy for you to do what you do. You've obviously made a big commitment in your life. What's the motivation that drives George Workman into the woods so often, and the hours that you pour into what you do? Is it a sighting that boggled your mind, and you're trying to make sense of it, or what is it that drives you to do this so tirelessly?
I think one thing is I just enjoy, reading people's stories and hearing them and meeting those people and talking about it. It's something about, I guess, as I've realized this more since I've done mountain lions, and it's almost very similar, where people say, I've seen this, and then people don't believe them. So if you've got hundreds and then sometimes thousands of these people that see the same things, but then you have other people that write news articles or are on TV and they say, well, there's no evidence and that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of drives me to, but I think, now I'm not really concerned about DNA or, because DNA is very political. Well, this side thinks it's this human hybrid and this side thinks it's an ape. And, I don't really care about that. I have my own theories that no science in my lifetime that I think is going to change what I think. So I don't really care about that. I'm more about, well, I'd rather find personal video or evidence myself than proving it. I don't think I need to, be in the next DNA study.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I watched your video that you did when you're at the Rick Mallory sighting place, and that would be handy too, because once you're friends with Rick Mallory, if you ever need someone beat up, you can just call him.
Right. And funny story about Rick Mallory's thing from last year. So we were there in Mishaw State Forest, and we were there talking about his report. And me, I'm always looking at the maps and things. And I said to Rick, I said, hey, do you ever go any of these other places? And he told me where he went. So I looked at the map last year, and I said, hey, look at this spot here, Rick. I was like, there's a lake here. The Appalachian Trail is there, and there's a power line. I was like, I think you should go and check that out. So he said, okay, yeah, we'll check it out. And I kind of forgot about it because it was, a year ago. So fast forward to this year, I run into another guy on Facebook, and he's like, hey, I've been following your stuff. This is on private message, it's not, in the group. I've been following your stuff, and he's like, I got a good story for you. I want to share this. And he said that his family, grew up in that area, and they're kind of like, the mountain people, living off the land, and his family's been there for 100+ years. And he said that in 1997, he was back in this place. He was hunting, and he was excited because he had his camera and he was going to start filming his hunts. He's a real big hunter, and he only goes back into this certain area with this only one other person. And he's like, look, he's like, this place is dangerous. He's like, there's people that hide out from on the run in this area, and it goes back to Native American legends and things like that. Anyway, so there he is on this. He told me the date and the time and everything. He's like, I'm sitting there in the woods, and I got my camera going, and I start hearing something nearby, and boom, out pops this giant mountain lion, big one, and it's
Nice.
within 30 yards, and he got it on video for about a minute and a half, he said. And eventually it started getting too close. He had to pull up his gun. It didn't end up attacking him or anything, but it was close. And he's like, look, this video was amazing. And then, despite his family's advice, he ended up telling. This is his story. He told the game commission there, and Penn State came in, and he went and took them to where it was, and the game commission went out and they took his footage. They're like, "Can we borrow this to study it?" And he's, "Yeah, I guess." And guess what? He never saw it again. They took his stuff, and guess where? Guess where it was?
Rick Mallory.
It was right at the same place I told Rick Mallory to go a year ago. It was literally the same spot. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to strong arm him out of any footage anytime soon.
Right. I hope not. I hope he shares it with us, So, yeah, we're going to go back there this year. That's one of our trips. I think we're going to go back there in August, and then we're going to go up to Minnesota in your neck of the woods, Stephanie.
Well, you have to come out with us. You have to come out with the Squatchers. We'll show you some good stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited to go. And
Yeah.
there's another guy that I know in Minnesota. I did a couple videos with him on our Flat Squatch Productions channel on YouTube, and he was on the Mesabi Trail from Duluth to wherever that goes. It's a pretty long trail, and he had all kinds of activity there that he could go on about for days, and we did interviews with him. So it's
awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, we have a lot of activity here in Minnesota for sure. And like I said, we just did the Squatch Chat, which is like a town hall, up in Big Fork, Minnesota, which is about 70 miles from the border, I guess. And people were coming out of the woodwork, because they wanted to know what we did, and they were telling us, one guy sent us his trail cam picture, which was pretty cool, actually, and said to come, and, it was so fun to talk to people. I think that's kind of one of my favorite things to do, honestly, besides being in the woods, of course. But, yeah, it's really fun. Yeah, you got to get a hold of us. So you got to come out with us when you're up here. I would love it. Love it, love it.
Thank you. That would be great.
Yeah, keep in touch. And yeah, because we're a bunch of girls, so it's kind of fun to come out with us. We do different things.
Right? The tough sell for me is, me and my wife go on these vacations, and she likes to go to the beach, and Minnesota's not really close to the beach, so we have to try to find some happy medium to go wherever we go.
But listen, we're the land of 10,000 lakes, so we have a lot of beautiful beaches up here in Minnesota as well. And if you're here in the summer, it's warm enough to swim, so you just got to convince her of that.
Yeah, I'm going to have to follow up with you about those beaches.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have a question for both of you guys. Are both of you guys, either of you guys' groups, Salt Fork State Park in Ohio this year? Are you going there, Stephanie? Are you going there, George?
Go ahead, Stephanie. You could go first.
No, I would love to go there. My friend B. Mills is one of the presenters there, and I've been trying to get there every year since I met her, which was a few years ago in Kentucky, and we just can't get it together this year. How about you, George? Are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to go. I went last year, and we actually recorded some trees that fell over twice, 2 different places from different tips. I don't think it was an accident, but we got them on recording. And we're gonna go. I'm gonna go again this year, and I like to go and meet people. I'm not gonna go in to listen to the speakers, but you can hang out in the same hotel and just have drinks and socialize. So that's what I'm gonna do this year. I'm gonna go one night.
Yeah.
And B. Mills, I went to one of her expeditions last year in southern Ohio, and it was a great place where she organized it, and they've been studying that spot for years. And I got great tree structures there. Tom, you've probably seen some of those. And then I casted my first track there too. It was cool.
Yeah, well, I think she's doing another one this year. I think in May, actually, they're doing another BFRO expedition. I think probably in the same spot that you guys were in.
Yeah, I think they are. I don't think I'm going to make it to this one, because we're going to go to other places, and
Yeah.
short of a sighting, I don't think I could have done much better, than
Yeah.
that spot. So
Awesome. Good to hear.
Speaking of Salt Fork, what do you think of that movie that's out, or that video that's out on YouTube that the guys recorded at Salt Fork with the Bigfoot walking through the woods? Have you guys seen that?
No.
It just came out about 2 months ago. It was real hot. Everyone's posting it, and I think the consensus is that it's a fake, but I don't know. It just made me think because it was on the backside of Salt Fork. Did you see it, George?
yeah, I could tell you my thoughts on that if you like.
Sure.
So first I watched it, it popped up in my group. First of all, it has a big red circle, so I'm like, okay. And then I watched just a couple minutes. I skipped through it and I thought, okay, this is fake. I'm not watching this. And then this other guy, my buddy James Creechbaum, he runs the Night Dreams Talk Radio show that I was on a couple months ago. He pinged me, and he lives near Salt Fork, and he said, "Hey George, what do you think of this?" So I thought he's probably going to talk about it. So okay, I'll sit down and watch this. So I sat down and watched it for about 3 hours, just taking notes and like researching everything I could about it. And the ironic part is, it's all over the newspapers too. It's crazy. So the image that they show in the newspaper, you can see the back of it looks like a big coat. Like there's a separation at the waist where the top part is, sticking out a couple inches further than the lower part. Like, okay, well, you got the fakest part of the video as your cover image. Yeah, it has but the guy, I mean, I just think the guy researched it. He has a YouTube channel and put in a lot of time to make the video. He's pretty good at editing. I think it's just, totally fake. And I usually don't even go that far with these videos and research them like that. But since he asked me to do it, and I watch, hundreds and hundreds of these videos, and now that I make videos too, like that's what I see. I see somebody just meandering around with a big suit on, just kind of aimlessly walking and being caught 6 times by a guy that doesn't even do Bigfoot research. And looks, so I'm thumbs down on that one. The guy was attacking me too on social media. I mean, he even wrote, he was arguing with everybody in all the groups. He said, "I never said it was real. Prove it's fake." Who says that?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know how when we make videos, we follow up, we do a comparison, we do the distance, we show you where it was, we put a person there. If we get a scream, we're excited and we compare it to other screams. Like this guy just had all the best footage and all the best screams and a tooth and all this other crap. Yeah, he had another video later that was a tooth. I didn't even watch that one, but I mean, come on.
You know what? Jason Trost has a conspiracy that he cooked up that, and I agree with him actually. He thinks that the Donald Slovey video from Spartansburg, PA, was the what they were trying to replicate in Salt Fork, and we believe the Slovey video is 100% real deal, and we think they looked at the Slovey video and tried to just reshoot it with their subject in Salt Fork. There certainly are a lot of striking similarities between the videos.
Yeah, and I've seen that one, and that one looks very real to me. There's a lot of subtleties that the untrained person that doesn't watch hundreds of these videos would notice. That's just a short clip, and it looks big, it looks real, and I mean,
the next time you come to Cryptovania, George, you've absolutely got to meet Donald Slovey. That guy is a machine. It's unbelievable. He has so much good stuff. He doesn't even promote a tenth of what he has.
Yeah, I would really like to meet him. I've talked to him a few times, and he's given me some data and reports and things. He's a real nice guy, and he's got so many footprints. Like, wow,
So,
Cool. So Karin in the chat room is asking, okay, so we're going to back up. So when you were talking about being in Salt Fork with B Mills, you talked about tracks that you found and casted. Was it just one, and was it Bigfoot, do you think, or was it a mountain lion? Because we've been kind of talking, going back and forth about different things here.
Yeah. Okay, so the Salt Fork is a few hours away from where I was with B Mills. I won't say where it is because they're going to go back there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at the place where B Mills event was expedition, we found there was a sighting the night before, right? And they didn't really tell everybody where it was. You know, I'm not the slowest guy, so I kind of figured out where it was. It was right near where I was camped. So then I just started following the structures that I saw that were all along that road. So we didn't want to disrupt their site, you know, their investigation, because they were doing castings and everything else. So we just went nearby there, me and a small group of people that I organized together to go look. And yeah, there was a whole slew of footprints, and we were on a real time constraint to do this. So it was kind of a secret mission. I didn't really want them to tell us we couldn't do it.
Yeah,
So,
I know what you mean.
yeah, so the day that I was leaving, me and one of the guys, Mike, we went, and there was a whole slew of footprints. I don't think they were all Bigfoot, but I think there was a few huge ones that looked like they had toes that were way bigger than my foot, and we casted 2 of those, and I have pictures of it in my group. But there was structures all along the trail that you guys both would have saw just as easily as I did. There was breaks, there was twists, there was huge ones, there was asterisks all along there. There was there were bear tracks right near where I was camped, which was right near where the footprints were, and it was you know, a quarter mile away from where their sighting was. And yeah, there was a bobcat track there, that one of the few that I've ever seen. And there was a snake right on the. It was like we hiked for an hour and found all this stuff, like right in the same spot. So it was like a dream, you know, stuff that you wouldn't find all year. We found in 1 hour right in this spot. So I still have the cast, and the other guy had a cast too that I gave to him, you know, because we tried to get other material, but we couldn't. We were like racing to the hardware store, but I had some in my car, so I just split it with him. He got one.
Of course. Yeah. So what do you think? So you said, you know, it was a trail of stick structures. What do you think those stick structures represent? Do you think they're like directionary, like a Bigfoot map, for example?
Yeah, I'm not. You know, it's really interesting. You know how you were saying you guys did your experiment and then they all disappeared. They started disappearing. So I guess at the minimum, I can just say that it means they're. Because I've only seen a few areas where they're really active like that. And one of them is Minnesota, and the other one was or 2 other ones. One where Rick Mallory was, and then the one at in Ohio. You know, but I think it means that they're at the minimum. It means they're there right now. I don't know what it means, but doesn't it seem like to you guys that when there's certain areas they're just everywhere? Yeah. And then there's most areas, there's just a few left, you know, just
Yeah, and what's interesting about our quadrant is that, you know, the big one that I was so in awe of, it was kind of, instead of the teepee-ish, you know, asterisk star kind of thing, it was more like a wigwam, you know, like some of the Native Americans would make these wigwams that were kind of low and flat and round. It was kind of made like that, and it was just totally amazing. And that's totally gone now. It's just totally gone. And some of the other ones are gone. But then if you go just a little bit further into the woods, there's one that we have found since all of these started disappearing that are made with trees that are still actually in the ground. And it's like, we call it the big hug structure because it's ginormous, and it's like they were just pushed together, and, you know, 90% of the sticks are actual trees that are still in the ground. They're dead trees, but it's totally amazing, and it's really big. So it's very interesting. I don't really know what to make of it. But I will never make another stick structure among other stick structures. Can I just say that? Because I think we learned our lesson. But yeah, interesting stuff for sure.
But it's great though that you did that experiment. You know, I don't know anyone that's ever done that before and then had those results.
Yeah. It's, and we've talked to actually when we were in Kentucky a couple of years ago, one of the teams down there said that they did that same thing. And what they found was they went back the next day because it was in their research area too. They had one and it was violently torn apart. So they said the sticks were everywhere. It was down, gone, end of story. That didn't happen to ours. Ours are still there. But the ones that we didn't make, because we made 2 of them, are slowly disappearing one after the other. So I know it's very weird, right? So we'll never do that again.
Hey, Tom, didn't Greg Yost, I don't know if he told you about this, but I remember I don't think he built one, but he spent the night in one of their structures in Indiana, and then he had one of the big guys come in and visited him that night. I think I heard that on Bigfoot Eyewitness with Vic Cundiff, if you recall that.
He actually never told me about that one, but nothing would surprise me. Anything's possible with Yost, that's for sure. Yeah. That would be a pretty courageous move, I think, to spend a night inside one of those structures. But hey, why not?
That's what I was thinking too. Wow, this guy, he's hardcore.
If you think you have a good rapport with the creatures, there's a good way to find out, I think. You would know if you didn't by morning, I would guess.
That's right. And he didn't get hurt, so he was scared, but
I recently found like a tripod tree structure with a skull under it, and I moved the skull, and I think I got infrasounded on the way out of the woods, and I almost got lost on the way out. It was really a weird deal, but what are the odds of finding a coyote skull with no other bones underneath of a tripod tree structure off trail in the woods of Venango County? So yeah, there's definitely something to it. What it all means, I don't know, but there's definitely something to it.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's an awesome find too, by the way.
Yeah. So yeah. It's fun to talk to everybody who's out in the woods a lot because we all have similar experiences and we find similar things. I don't know that I would sleep under a stick structure though. I might be really close to one all night long, but I don't know that I would go under there. I still think that some of them are portals, energy portals, and I'm very sensitive to energies, and we've found a few stick structures that have massive energy underneath. So what does all that mean? I'm not really sure. Interesting stuff.
Aren't the pyramids, they find all these pyramids in Mexico and Egypt and, all these other places that are pyramid shaped, and they're all said to be energy related, right? So, a stick structure is just a primitive version of a pyramid, perhaps.
It is, for sure. Yeah, interesting stuff. So, Tommy, are you going to ask the question of this filmmaker as well?
I'm sure. And I don't know which way this is going to go tonight.
I don't either. I don't know. So I'm waiting for the answer.
George, Stephanie, and I have this little game we like to play with each other, and that is, what is your thoughts on the Patterson-Gimlin film? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's a hoax? We have differing opinions on this, so there's no right answer because one of us is going to disagree with you, but that's okay. But we have differing viewpoints on this, and we'd love to know what you think about the Patterson-Gimlin.
I think it's real, definitely, because first, it's a female, right? Who's going to make a suit, a female suit, right? I mean, come on. And then you can see the bottom of its foot. You can see the muscles in the suit. And I actually researched suits because I bought one and I have one and I don't wear it. But Edward and I we were gonna do a recreation, right? And we didn't have Bigfoot, and we thought, well, we might need Bigfoot. So I bought a suit, and I bought a muscle suit underneath it, and it cost me like $600 or $700. And I filmed myself walking around the yard. My dog tried to attack me and everything else, and it doesn't look anything like what that video looks like. And it's sad because most people that get high and interested in Bigfoot, that's the one they end up watching. And then you watch the guy that says, I wore the suit, and to discredit it, and then that will turn a good percentage of people away from Bigfoot right there. But the other percentage that actually watch all the other videos, they're not all fake. And I don't think that one's fake, even though the guy, that's what he was out doing, looking. He wasn't in a car. He was on a horse. He had another guy there. And the suit, there's no way that was a suit, in my opinion. Short version.
Haha, Stephanie, gotcha.
Well, yep, you got another one in your column now, Tommy. Good for you.
This has not been unanimous either, George. It's gone both ways.
Oh,
Actually, there is no wrong answer. It's very interesting to hear people's takes on this.
And know what? Here's the other thing is that it's gotten the interest in Bigfoot out there for the last 50 plus years. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if it's real or not. People are really interested in Bigfoot now, and that's why there's so many people out there in the woods looking for Bigfoot, right? So it doesn't matter.
Yes, that's right. Now, inquiring minds are going to want to know, George, pictures of you in the suit, when will they be forthcoming?
They may never hit the light of day. I may never even wear that thing again. But it looks pretty cool.
You gotta, man.
I think you should. Yeah, we got to see it.
The same one is actually, you'll see pictures of it in other places. There's a guy skiing with it, and it's a pretty cool looking suit. So there are other people that wear it, but I bought that muscle suit underneath it, so I have like real mass.
Ooh.
Which it doesn't look like a just everyday suit. I'll send it to you guys offline.
Yeah, do it. I would love it for sure. Oh my gosh.
That's about $600-$700, you say, huh?
Yeah. You got to show it off.
Oh, I don't know. As soon as I do that, then if I ever do find anything, everybody will say I faked it and everything else. But one thing that's cool about it is, as you could see me walking in my yard, you can see how the light hits the suit and it makes it glow. Like it doesn't camouflage, it like makes it stick out like an angel, like if the sun is behind it. Oh. So going to Jonathan Lackey's theories, that Helgen shine or whatever you guys call it. It's like the opposite of that. So I think the light probably absorbs in their hair, but in the fake suit, it does the opposite. It makes it glow. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I have a friend that's 7'3". If we could get him one of those suits, man, we'd be in business. You've already got your costume for the Cryptovania Halloween party.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I could wear this thing everywhere, man. It would be a hit, and I just never do. I could do parties or events and everything else, but it's really hard to wear it. I could only wear it for about 5 or 10 minutes in 70 degrees before I felt like I was going to die. I had to buy an ice pack thing underneath it, and it's brutal.
So you guys might find this interesting. When I was up in Big Fork this weekend, apparently there's a taxidermist that has made a super tall, it's supposed to be a Sasquatch, and it's made out of bear hides. I saw a picture of it, and he wants $30,000 for this thing. And it's super tall. It's like, I can't remember how tall it is, but I'm like, I looked at it because some of the people that were at the Squatch Chat had went to look at it, I guess. I don't know. And I'm like, okay, who would pay $30,000 for that thing? But it's made out of bear hides. I mean, isn't that interesting? I just thought that's just bizarre behavior. But
I wonder how many bears it took.
I don't even want to know. It was pretty big, and I'm just like, holy crapola. I would kind of like to go see it, but I mean, $30,000, man. Anyway.
Well, Stephanie, the clock on the wall is saying it's just about that time, unfortunately.
I know. So, hey, thank you, George, for coming on, and I hope when you find some cool stuff or have some other information or stuff you want to share with us, you just, let us know and come back on. This was fun talking to you.
Oh, anytime. Yeah, I'll come back on. You guys can always find, I post everything in my groups, on Flat Squatch Productions on YouTube and the Bigfoot Dogman info library and Cryptovania. You could find me anywhere. So, yeah, it's been great. Thank you
Awesome.
guys.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, we are off. We will be back same time, same place next week. I believe next week's guest is Bill Lancaster, and he's going to be talking about his new documentary, Native Bigfoot. So that's exciting. So join us then. Thank you, Jason, our awesome producer, and thank you, Para X, and everyone listening. We'll see you next week.